Today's episode is sponsored by the Christian Standard Bible. The goal of the CSB is to be faithful to the original languages without sacrificing clarity, all the while maintaining both accuracy and readability. With beautiful designs and multiple study Bible options, everyone, from adults to teens to children, can find a CSB Bible that they enjoy. Learn more at csbible.com. Hey, welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. I'm your host, Chris Fuller, and we are bringing you yet another bonus episode with the guys from But What Does the Bible Say? This is Saturday morning coffee time, I believe. And on this episode, I sit down with Rodney and Tim Parsons from But What Does the Bible Say? And we talk about entertainment, everything from movies to books to music. And we just had a really good time with these guys. So why don't you guys join in with me and we'll listen in on this week's bonus episode. So till next time, take it easy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to But What Does the Bible Say? I'm Rodney, and we are here for a special episode of Saturday Morning Coffee Club. And today in the house with us, we have, of course, the wonderful Tim Parsons.
Good morning.
And our special guest today is Chris Fuller from Real Talk Christian Podcast. So how's everybody doing this morning?
Doing good.
Doing good. Awesome. Tim?
Little hectic. No.
Little hectic. Well, I mean,
so early.
It is early.
I pretend I'm on the West Coast. Oh, it's only 6 a.m.
Just rolled out of bed.
Like, man.
Well, not just that, but Tim also, they're like minutes away from having a baby boy.
That's right.
Oh, boy, yeah.
He's on schedule.
But so what is everybody drinking today?
Tim, go ahead.
Well, I was going to start because we'll build up. I was gonna say I was gonna make my Cracker Barrel K-cup, but I ended up got fast food coffee this morning. I poured it in a regular cup so it didn't look right. This is my very subtle
Tim,
so I don't lose my cup.
Nice.
So what fast food restaurant did you get it from, Tim?
I went to Chick-fil-A this morning.
Chick-fil-A.
Gotta go on Saturday.
At least it's Chick-fil-A. Well, that's good.
Right.
Yeah, so this morning I am drinking the Fathom Coffee Company Ethiopian Yuga Chef.
I love it.
What coffee is she drinking, Tim?
Yeah, Tim.
She drinks the strong stuff.
Nice.
What? Right.
So you're drinking the Fathom, you said, Ethiopian there,
Yep.
Rodney? Awesome. So
Yes, I am.
Mark and I drank some of that Ethiopian, that Navy one that you sent to us last night when we were recording. But this morning, it was really good. This morning, I'm drinking my own personal roast, the Honduran that I roasted about 2 days ago. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, that's what I got in the coffee cup today.
That was an excellent progression of quality as we went.
Yeah, it's like fast food, locally roasted, and then
That's right.
self-roasted, right?
Well, you know.
But hey, so this morning, because we're doing this coffee club, what we're really doing is talking about lighter subjects that we can just kind of have fun with, and things that people also want to know about a lot of times, and what we think about specific things out there in the community. First, I'm going to lead off with Colossians 3:14-17. If I can see this little bitty text. I need my readers. So both of you guys need to know this. As the older you get, the more this becomes a problem.
Mm-hmm. I have glasses. I just don't wear.
All right. So
I'm in denial.
This is Colossians 3. This is Colossians 3:14-17. Above all, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity, and let the peace of Christ, to which you were also called in one body, rule your hearts, and be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell richly among you in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another through psalms, hymns, spiritual songs, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. And whatever you do, in word or in deed, do everything in the name of Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. So, and by the way, this Bible that I got right here, I just basically won this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reformed Wiki 2.0 is doing a contest right now where you can actually win a Bible of your choice. And it is an actual, no kidding, real leather bound Bible. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
that is. Yeah. So I was pretty shocked by that I actually won. I was like, hey, look, I won something.
Well, that's okay. Because, today today this little episode with you guys, I'm sending you guys some Bibles. We talked about it last week at live stream. So they came in on Thursday, and we're going to ship them out to you guys today. You guys are going to own your very own CSBs, which we are sponsored by. So they'll be heading you guys away.
That's what Rodney should have gotten.
That's outstanding. So what we're talking about today, we are talking about Christian entertainment. We're going to be talking about Christian movies and streaming services.
Sure.
And we're also going to be talking about TV shows and what we've seen and what we think about the way they are produced, maybe, and a little bit about what some of our favorite ones are. Because I know there are some good ones out there. So I'm not going to sit there and bash on all Christian movies or anything like that. But so first thing is, what are your guys' thoughts overall about Christian movies, how they're produced and how they come out?
Tim, you want to go first?
Overall, there is such a range.
Hey, we got a microphone.
Yeah, I finally figured it out. I've been looking at it. All right.
That's
See,
awesome.
I'm not as stupid as I think I am. There, I turned it down. I backed it off a little bit too, so hopefully that's not too loud.
Hey, sounds great. No, I mean, I think that's the thing, right? You can go a million different directions with this. Are Christians allowed to be entertained? No, I'm kidding. Sorry. We start with that.
Well, it depends. Are you a Baptist or?
Right. Is entertainment even allowed?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I think, you got this huge spectrum of cheesy to, I mean, gosh, there's some of them that are great. Like what really makes what makes something, I guess, really good.
Right.
How do you qualify that?
Well, I mean, I think when you think about quality of a movie and stuff like that, I think sometimes you have a lot of funding, right? That has to do with the quality and how it comes out. So a lot of times with Christian movies, I don't think there's the funding that they have, like, for example, with Hollywood. So you may not get the special effects, you may not get the scenes or the locations that you want to shoot on and stuff like that. So I think there's something about that can be said that you're kind of limited when you're not fully funded like Hollywood productions are. So
Are you talking about like quality of Jesus of Nazareth versus the Passion of the Christ?
Right.
Funding that way,
It is a great point. Yeah.
So
Just starting right there. You're right. You hear about some of the relatively minuscule budgets.
Right.
Everything's
sure.
yeah.
Well, I even look at the Kendrick brothers. I don't know if you guys know much about the Kendrick brothers. They started off with that movie. Well, they started off with some church movies.
Okay.
Just for their local church and their local body. But the first movie they actually put out there was that Flywheel. Did you guys ever see Flywheel?
I don't think I saw that one.
Flywheel.
Okay. Flywheel is the cheesiest acting, the most low budget, low grade. It's like me and my web camera, it's very low budget.
Right.
And then, the latest movie, that I've seen is that War Room. I don't know if you guys have seen War Room, but the quality, the acting, they can pay actual actors now. And they do training, and then they've got the better cameras and lighting and special effects now. And so it just having funding, I think, changes a lot in the Christian entertainment realm.
Right.
Now some of and I think experience in writing too, The writing plots are a lot better. The lines are a lot better. They've got some funny little quips here and there. It makes it like, okay, they got a little humor. I like this now.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of my biggest problems with the Christian movie industry isn't necessarily the funding, because that's something that you can kind of set that one aside, say, okay, you know what? They don't have the funding.
Sure.
So I can give them that. But sometimes with writing, sometimes I go, is it solid enough?
Right.
I know that I think about it like this. I think about predictability. I think is one of my biggest problems with the Christian movie industry.
Yeah.
Is that you watch a Christian movie, oftentimes you kind of see what's coming.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, is that a writing problem, or is that so
I think it is partially a writing problem, and it's partially, Christians are a lot more conservative in the topics and areas and that they want to broach and how real they want to get,
Right.
They don't want to get too real where people are like, oh, we're not going to watch your movie and we write you off as a heretics, because that's what, we Christians like to do really quick. It's like, that doesn't line up with the Bible, and so you're a heretic and this movie's heresy. And it's like, well, okay, but is the movie, you got to take the movie, is it saying that it's supposed to be biblically accurate? Because most Christian shows and movies that I've seen that kind of broach the edge a little bit, they're not saying, hey, this is biblically accurate. Like I got the Chosen hat on right now. I'm a huge fan of the Chosen. The Chosen has always said we are entertainment. Yes, we have Bible stories, and yes, there are some biblically accurate things, but there's a lot that's not, and you need to go read your Bible if you want to know the true story. Like we take the creative license and add things and do stuff like that. I think of one scene that had good writing, in my opinion, but the Samaritan women, they meet her husband, her and her husband, this is all creative license. So they get back together, they invite him to come stay at Jesus, and the disciples stay at their home, and they knock on the door, and he's talking about, I've got enough rooms. He goes, but one room, it's haunted by my dead grandmother. And the character Jonathan Rumi is playing Jesus. He goes, ooh, I want that one. Like, he's like all excited to go sleep in the haunted room, as Jesus. And then, the guy that's playing Andrew's like, I don't want to stay in that room. To me, that was some creative writing. It was like, oh man, that was really funny. Like, cause it's like, most of us would be like, no, I don't want to stay there. But Jesus like, ooh, I want that one. So I think it has to do a lot with the writing and how far the producer, writer, director is going to push the line and make it clear to its audience that, hey, this is not supposed to be biblically accurate. And I think we as Christians have a problem with thinking, oh, well, it says Jesus on it, it says this on it, so it has to be biblically accurate. And it's like, no, it's entertainment is what it is. You want biblically accurate, go read your Bible.
Right. I think what I'm really talking about, though, is like when we look at the movies that are like God's Not Dead and stuff like that, and I look at the writing that's involved in those movies,
right?
And it's just like, to me, I am like, okay, I can see everything coming, and I know that there's going to be haters out there for me saying this, but a lot of Christian movies to me come off like the Hallmark Channel.
Yes.
And so
they're going to kiss at the end.
Yeah, it's like, come on, so I think sometimes when it comes to, we like suspense, we like to not know what's coming up next. And I think that's for viewers of movies, we want that to pull us into the movie. And I think when it's too predictable, we just get kind of, okay, I'm like bored now. Yeah. And I don't know. And we're talking about movies, right? We're not talking about reading the Bible and stuff like that. We're talking about movies. So
yep. Right. And that's, I totally agree with you. It is very predictable. I think that it's predictable because it's safe. And I think, as far as movies go, and we haven't even broached, like, we're talking Christian entertainment. We're not talking about music yet. We're not talking about books. We're not talking about any of this stuff yet. But in the movie realm, it's safe, and they know they won't lose people if they stay safe rather than broaching reality.
Well, a prime example of broaching reality is like, if you look at the movie Machine Gun Preacher, okay, I use this one as an example. The way they start that movie out, I mean, they didn't hold back. Yeah. I mean, the language was atrocious in the first part. It was, I think it was even I think it was R-rated, an R-rated movie. So because they didn't hold back, though, when he converted, when his conversion scene came up in the movie, man, I was in tears. because you see that drastic change in the person's life, where I think sometimes in Christian movies, and I know why they do it. I mean, I know why they soften that pre-Christ a little bit. You know, there's no bad language. There's, you don't see any of the violence or anything like that, because they're trying to make it acceptable and watchable by the whole family, not just adults. Right. And I get that, but at the same time, I think there's a portion of something that's lost in the actual blessing that happens when Christ opens our eyes. And I think that's part of the thing that I think is lost in a lot of Christian movies. So,
well, that's what I really appreciate even about like the Passion of the Christ. You know, obviously there's no language in the Passion of the Christ, but the violence, the gore, the reality of what it was probably like.
There was Aramaic.
There's lots of Aramaic, but like, but you know, when they're whipping him and like ripping the flesh off his body, like it's showing that. And it's like, that's probably how it was. Like to me, it's like, that's reality. You know, it's not like, ooh, oh, that hurts. You know, like a lot of these older Jesus films, and don't get me wrong, I love some of these older ones. They're nostalgic for me, and but something about some reality, right? We're not fake. We don't want to live in the Disney fairy tale world all the time. Sometimes we want to see reality, and sometimes reality is not very nice. It doesn't sound very nice. Now, also, we need to be careful and guard our hearts and our ears and our minds from the things we watch or listen to. But we don't want to guard them so much where it's like, oh, we hear everybody, you know, singing in song or like, talking in King James.
Right.
So, because that's not reality. That's not life either.
So what do you guys think about, now, I don't know, Tim, if you've ever watched anything from PureFlix?
I'm sure I have. Yes.
Have you, Chris?
I'm sure there's stuff on PureFlix that I've seen, but I can't say I've gone to PureFlix to watch it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know I've seen them branded. Yeah. Those branded movies.
Yeah. Now, I mean, Nikki and I had a PureFlix account for a while, and I loved it in the beginning. Okay. I loved having it in the beginning because there was so much immediately that you could go on and watch, and you could go on and see and stuff like that. But then you start to notice some trends that I was just kind of like, okay, what's going on here? And when you see David White, the actor, in every single show, every single movie, it gets kind of like old hat.
It's very Hallmark-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you made that comment about Hallmark, because that's usually, we watch a lot of Hallmark movies, and you see certain actors and you're like, oh, it's probably that producer, and it's like, there it is.
My wife's to the point where she doesn't even turn on Hallmark if I'm around, because she's like, you're just gonna ruin it for me. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's
just shots fired.
I'm sorry.
But you know, it's true though, because you know, my mom is a huge Hallmark movie fan, and TV. And you go to her house and that's like what's on, especially if you go during Christmas time.
Right.
And so for me, it's like, oh, okay, I'll sit through it because it's mom, you know, out of respect for my mother. But yeah, I think it's just really very predictable. And I think the same thing happens whenever you get to Christian streaming services like PureFlix, is you end up with, especially, and I think part of that also is this limited pool of Christian actors. I think there's a very limited pool of Christian actors that are willing to make that step into, I know there's a lot of actors that may claim to be Christian, you know what I'm saying, but they won't necessarily step over that line.
They're not going to create career suicide to step over on that line.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, look at Kevin Sorbo. When's the last time you've seen Kevin Sorbo outside of a Christian film?
Right.
Exactly. Not since Hercules, pretty much.
No. Hercules and Andromeda, and then
right. And then he's made the flip, and now he's like, well, Hollywood's like, yeah, you're too much for us now.
Yeah.
But there are some that interest me that actually still do get they still do get accepted by Hollywood in some respects, because of their former acclaim was so high that they really couldn't be. And that was like when you look at like John Voight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think John Voight could walk into a Christian movie and nobody would say anything because of who John Voight is.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah. Well, even like, so I look at The Chosen, Jonathan Rumi. I don't know if you guys know much about him, but He's been on like Chicago Med. He's been on all these different TV programs, and he comes and does The Chosen and plays the part of Jesus, but then he's still going back and forth playing other things. So it's another, I call them rare cases, rare cases of being able to kind of flip back and forth between both realms.
Right.
So,
well, what was the actor's name that played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ?
Jim Caviezel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and he's been in stuff since then.
Yeah, right.
You know, so.
Yep.
But then again, that was a very high budget Hollywood production in comparison.
Right.
And it was attached to Mel Gibson. So,
yeah.
Right.
I mean, so yeah, for a while it had a bad connotation with it, but I mean, I think that's kind of floated away. So a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that, you know, when we look at movies and we look at stuff, like I said, pure flicks, I look at that stuff and I get it. And I think that it is important for us to have that material there because it is good to have something that we can watch that is wholesome. That's not, I'll even go as far as saying tainted by the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To the point of being unwatchable. I mean, there's very few things that we can watch today on TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That don't try and program you, if I to put it that way. So, you know, it's and sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's very direct. Yeah. But I do appreciate the fact that we do have pure flicks out there. I wish they could get some more actors and some more
better writing
and some funding involved, because I think that'd be a huge help. I think that'd be a huge help. Because like I said, David White being in every single movie and TV show.
It's like, wait, wasn't he just a slave and now he's now he's the king? I'm just like putting it together here.
Yeah, now he's the dad in a sitcom.
Right, okay, exactly.
So
yeah. So, you know, talking on the premise of Christian entertainment, what are your guys' thoughts on Christian music versus like, is it okay? I mean, I know that Mark and I have talked about this several times on our podcast, but what's your guys' thoughts on is it okay to listen to quote unquote worldly music, or is it not? You know, should we only listen to Christian music? What's your guys' opinion on that?
Well, you also have the music that's in between, like Creed,
right?
Who flips back and forth.
Switchfoot, Creed. Yeah.
Man, I've been all over the map over the years.
Yeah.
Like, different times. I'm like, oh man, I can't listen to this stuff. And it's like, okay, well, maybe it's okay a little bit. I guess it's probably more of my own issues with with my with what I let into my mind, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, you know, overall, I think there's a very good case to be made about just art in itself being not a bad thing. And then, like you said, you know, is it better to like weed out all this stuff maybe on a personal level for your own, you know, like you said, where you're not getting tainted by different things or whatever, you know, like what are you feeding yourself, I guess, is kind of a couple of different ways that I've tried to look at it over the years, whether it's like, you know, the art itself is good, or whether you need to kind of, I guess, guard yourself from, I guess going down getting too much other stuff put in your mind, like, what you kind of feed yourself.
Yeah, I had a hard time with this when I first became a Christian. I mean, I became a Christian, or God saved me when I was 28 years old. And so I had a whole lifetime of Metallica and, you know, and
Led Zeppelin and
well, no. I was actually pretty much into hardcore punk rock music.
Okay.
And bands that probably a lot of people don't even know about, like UK Subs. And I'm going like deep British underground punk rock stuff, right, is what I listen to. And so for me, whenever God saved me, and I was like, wait a minute, I a lot of this stuff I can't listen to anymore. You know what I mean? And I felt like, man, this stuff, I need to throw it all out. And I basically did. I threw everything out that I pretty much had. And so it was hard for me for a long time, when the hardest thing I could find was Third Day.
Hey, they're still pretty good.
They're good. Right. They're good. But it was like that shift from the Sex Pistols to
Metallica, Pantera, you know, all them guys to Third Day
to Southern rock. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, it was a little bit difficult for me at first when it came to music, because of what I was listening to, and then a drastic shift to this stuff isn't good anymore. I can't do it. And so, yeah, it was just really tough. Now, I mean, of course I did find a couple bands out there that I enjoyed that fit a little bit more that, I guess you could call it the Irish punk scene type stuff.
Flogging Molly.
No,
Dang it.
No, I had to throw them out too. They were out the window too.
Dang it.
But I mean, like Flatfoot 56.
Yep.
Okay,
have you seen them in the concert?
No.
Oh, I saw them when they first started coming around. I saw them in concert. They put on a great show. Great show.
So I was able to find a few bands like that to kind of, I always say it's kind of like weaning yourself off of drugs, right? I was weaning myself off of that. And I mean, now I listen to more stuff like Third Day and stuff like that. But
I'll tell you. So I guess one direction I was headed.
Did someone say punk rock? Thanks, Mark.
He's like, I'm here for it. I can hear it now.
I'm going to make you nauseous because I'm going to say I've always been a big country music fan. And I think it's a little bit sneakier for me because it's not as like overtly, like some of it is, right? Sure. I mean, certainly they talk a lot about drinking and one night stands, that kind of stuff, but it's not necessarily, the language isn't necessarily as bad. So you can kind of like justify it to yourself. And like, well, this music isn't so bad, but the messaging and all that, I mean, it's still the same idea. So I guess what I mean is that it seems more acceptable, but you still have to base it on its merits itself. I guess what I mean is like, I can feel better about myself, but that's not the way we should be viewing it.
Right.
It's not
right.
Like, oh, well, I'm okay because I'm listening to country music, which isn't as vulgar as, this other type of music. And I think that's a dangerous place to be, is where I'm saying, personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
First to go.
So I mean, I'm right along with you guys of, I think I lean a little bit more towards Rodney because I came from the punk rock scene. I was the wear the beanie and the studded bracelets and studded belts and black shirt and jeans like that, and the chucks. You got to have the chucks, and
yep.
I'd go to all those punk rock shows and like the Flogging Molly shows and all these shows that that's where I came from, and it was very much like you, Rodney. It was like, when I got saved, it was like, okay, it's shell shock. I've got to I can't listen to any of this anymore. And then it's like, but can I? Like you're struggling within yourself. And I'm to the point now, it all depends on the message, right? What's the message behind it for me? And what setting am I in? I'm not going to listen to certain music in a church setting because that's not the appropriate place for it. Me personally, I think when we're in church, it should be theologically sound music that we sing. So,
right. Right.
Oh yeah. Not even getting into like you said, the actual church setting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you dive into the church setting and it's like, man, I'm looking at like every word. Does it line up with scripture? Like, does that theology line up? I take issue with, I love David Crowder band, but when they're talking about a sloppy wet kiss, I'm like, that's a little far for me in a church setting. I love the music, but it's a little far for me in church. And I used to go to a church that sang it religiously every week after it came out, and I'm like, I can't do it. But I think it's all about the message behind it. The way it kind of, does it uplift you or does it bring you down? I think that has a lot to do with it as well. Right. If I'm listening to Blink 182, that's not going to lift me up and have me focused on Christ like Third Day would. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
And so I think there's a time and place for it. There's some music I still listen to here and there that isn't, Christian. And it's like, okay, I can listen to it and, I can enjoy it as entertainment. But I wouldn't want to sit there and listen to it religiously over and over and over again, because then my personal mindset starts to shift a little bit. And so that's where I have to be careful because of myself and where I came from. I could slip back into that and lose what music is supposed to be, I guess.
Here we got from Mark again. There's a big difference between what's what's corporate worship approved and good music.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I look at I think for me, whenever I look at even the music that I listen to, right? Because when I started realizing that, okay, I do like Christian music, of course, you find yourself listening to Elevation, you find yourself listening to Hillsong, you find yourself listening to, and then when you realize,
I love it.
when you realize how wrong they are theologically and some of their stuff, you go, whoa, wait a minute. You know, what am I listening to here?
Right.
You know, what is this, you know, and then you realize, okay, well, the whole church is putting out some stuff that's really bad. And if I'm listening to this stuff, am I supporting their ministry? Especially if I'm buying their albums and if I'm buying their, you know, their singles and stuff.
Yeah.
Or listening to it on Spotify. I mean, you got to remember that Spotify goes by downloads, right?
Right.
So if you're downloading their stuff and they're getting that rating, they're getting that monetary stuff that comes with that. And I'm just like, I don't know if I can do that because I don't think I can support, you know, the ministry itself. So.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. You know, the hardest artist I had a hard time letting go of, and you guys may know him, you may not, but it was Ray Boltz. I don't know if you guys know Ray Boltz or not. Really big back in the 90s as a Christian artist. Ended up coming out that he was a homosexual. He left his wife. Okay. He's left his family, left his wife, and is living this homosexual life now. And his music was so powerful, so theologically sound, and it's like he goes from that to that, and it's like, oh, can I support that? Now can I continue to listen to his music, even his older stuff? And it's like, I you know, there's a struggle there with that because it's like, I really enjoy this music and it's theologically sound, but am I supporting the lifestyle and what he's choosing to do? I mean, is that me eating at the same table as my brother at this point, you know, or am I supposed to cast him out like the scripture says and turn him over to the devil so that, you know, his body may be destroyed, that his soul may be saved? And so, you know, it's a big struggle. And I don't think that any Christian can say it's not a struggle, right? We all come from backgrounds where we like certain music and certain artists. And if we really look at the background of that artist, there's probably all of us have probably got an artist that we like that has a shady background now.
Right.
And so now you got to struggle with, can I support them? So.
Right. Well, I think we have to be kind of careful with that too, because if you look at when we start deciding who are we going to support and who are we not going to support, are we going to buy from this or are we going to buy from that? I think sometimes we can find ourselves without anything.
Yeah, right. No, totally.
I mean, if I go support or if I go buy groceries, what am I supporting now?
Right, exactly.
Politically,
Starbucks.
religiously, whatever.
Don't drink no Charbucks because.
That's right.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah. So I think that we have to think about what is our limit on that. And
I guess for me, if you're calling yourself a Christian, right? If you are saying I'm a representative of Christ, there's a higher standard that you have, just like for us, right?
Right.
There's a higher standard that we have to be theologically correct in our what we air out there. And I think that's where, like, I'm not going to go to the CEO of Walmart or Target and be like, I can't shop here anymore. That's cancel culture stuff to me. And I'm totally against that. But to me, you know, like I look at Hillsong and what they're doing and the deconstructionism that's going on in the church and be like, can I support this when they're hurting the gospel on purpose? They're claiming to be Christian and hurting the gospel. To me, that's where I guess me personally, I'm not saying this for anybody else, but me personally, I have to start drawing lines.
Yep.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I wonder when Mark was going to start. Yeah. Throwing in the hard questions here.
Hey, Mark, you should have just jumped on and joined us.
So question, where does Christian liberty play into our music preference? Because it seems that many people have a low standard for movies, but then music gets the short end of the straw. Yeah. Wow. Actually, that's a very good question.
Yep.
It's a very good question. So I think for me, I think he's right on this. I think that we have this low standard for movies that we will go watch movies left and right at the movie theater. We'll go watch movies that even have language in it that we shouldn't probably be, you know, ingesting.
Right.
We have movies with a lot of LGBTQ, you know what I'm saying, stuff in it that we shouldn't necessarily be bringing our kids, you know, into that realm. So I think there's a lot of things that we'll allow in movies, and then when it comes to music, we're like heretic,
Right.
Immediately.
Sure.
So I think he's right. I think he's right that there is a double standard that we have.
Oh yeah, because I'll say no to this music, even on movies and television. No, I'm not going to do this, but then I'm going to go read 50 Shades of Grey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We draw on that side of things too. The standards kind of fluctuate between what we want, and I think that's a battle within the flesh, right? I think that's one of those things that we're going to continue to struggle with, most of us, of, hey, what's okay and what's acceptable and where are my standards at? And yeah, I think that we do have different standards for different things right now, and we shouldn't. I mean, it's one of those things we're going to struggle with. So,
yeah, I mean, I look at TV shows. How often do we watch TV shows that really we shouldn't be watching, that are actually inappropriate, and then say, well, it's just a TV show, it's not reality, and we kind of put that on it. And like Mark said, with music, we go, oh, wait a minute. This is putting in something, I'm ingesting something I shouldn't be ingesting, but then we set it down in front of our TV show and put on all kinds of different things. The same person that will watch or say no to certain music will also say, I'm going to go watch Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you're like, wait a minute.
Time out. Yeah.
So
that's a very good point. So what type of standards should we have, Tim?
Ooh, standards.
What type of, as a Christian, right? And I know a lot of this is going to be some biblically based and some opinionated.
Yeah.
So, but
absolutely.
what is the goal we should strive for as Christians?
Man, yeah, the goal we should strive for. I guess where I am right now, and I feel like there's a certain aspect of this that is like maturity. As you get more mature, like you said, maybe when you first, like you guys were talking about, maybe when you first come to the faith, you're like, man, I can't have any of this stuff, just I have to get rid of it all and kind of start over and maybe like build up from the ground up there. And as you kind of get more experience and you get more understanding, like I think Mark's question kind of speaks to that a little bit about Christian liberty. You get a better understanding of what that is. Maybe you have to put more protections in place early on. And not that you can like let your guard down necessarily, but like you said, when you have better ideas for what is beneficial for you. And I mean, that's a lot of it, right? Is you're talking about everybody's where it talks about like not letting each other stumble and things like that. I think that kind of falls into that category where you're saying, where is it a problem for me in my walk? Is part of what I think about. Now, do I have hard, fast rules? Not necessarily. I mean, that's, maybe still working through that, really.
All right, Rodney, let's hear your thoughts.
So, I mean, I think Tim's spot on. I think that there is a need for us to, as Christians, to put those guardrails up. I think we need to. I'm not saying that we need to make it law as the Pharisees did. We got to remember the Pharisees were adding to the law to put in guardrails, right? Which actually became basically strangling the people, with law,
right?
Because they made stuff that wasn't necessarily biblical law or laid down by God, that was laid down by them. Especially when we talk about the Sabbath, right? And this was the big example that Jesus used. They were putting up guardrails and saying, no, you can't do this. They can't do this. They started saying what is and what isn't work, right? I think we can end up doing the same thing with things like TV shows and movies and stuff like that, where we're putting up so many guardrails that we, kind of separate ourselves out of the world, and we might as well become monastic, and become, and we start separating ourselves from the world so much that and I'm not saying that we should be like the world. Right. We shouldn't, right? We're supposed to be in the world, but not be of it.
Yeah.
And,
I think I should have started there. Like, bottom line, like, I don't think we have to only limit ourselves to the Pure Flix films and the contemporary Christian music. I think there's a lot more freedom than that. Yeah. But I think that's where I think that's where I should have started, but then said, like, it really, you have to be on your guard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that looks different for each person, right? I think there's some hard, fast rules you can look at, like when Christ says to look upon a woman with lust, or as we would say it, to look on a man or woman with lust. is adultery in your heart. So if there's something that's causing that in an entertainment aspect, that probably should be a hard line, right?
That's a great example.
If I'm going and watching, triple X-rated films, pornography, there's that's entertainment, but that should be not entertainment on a Christian perspective, right? That's a hard, fast, and no. But
that is important to point out, though. Really, like, it might seem obvious, but for some people, it's not obvious.
Right.
Like,
well,
you can make an argument for anything.
I look at Game of Thrones, right?
Great point.
And there's a reason why I personally don't watch Game of Thrones, because there's a lot of nudity in it. That's one of the hard reasons why I refuse to watch Game of Thrones, because to me, then that's going to be causing me to lust, right? That's going to be causing me to sin. I'm knowingly going in, going to sin.
Right.
Because we're guys, and that's just what happens. Like, right? That's the way we're made. And so I'm not going to put myself in that type of situation. But other things, I think it's more up to, I always say this, live by your convictions, right? If you're convicted that you can't watch anything PG-13 and above, right? Like my in-laws, they have a hard, fast rule that they've had for ever since my wife was born. They will not watch anything PG-13 or above. And to me, that's fine. Live by your convictions. And I don't want to cause you to stumble, and I'm not going to try to force you to watch anything that you don't feel comfortable. That's a guard you put up, and that's fine. And I think that's where we need, as Christian brothers and sisters, we need to be a lot more understanding of each other. Like, hey, listen, Tim, you're going to answer to God. So whatever guards you put up, that you're going to have to answer for those. And so if you let yourself go too far, you have to answer for it. Or if you put so many guards up that you never see anything but PureFlix films, I mean, you're going to have to answer for that. And answering for it is not like you're going to be judged and, you're going down and I'm sending you to hell because they said, a cuss word in this show that you watch. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that for each person, they have to decide for themselves with their relationship with God where they're going to be at. We need to be understanding of that we may not always see eye to eye on that. I think there's some hard lines that we can hold each other accountable for. Like Tim, I would tell you, hey, if you're watching Game of Thrones, look, you might want to be careful because that's going to cause some temptation there.
Yeah.
And I just fear for you, brother. And that's that speaking that truth in love, speaking scripture in love. And the benefit is not for me, it's for you. And I'm trying to look out for you because I love you. And I think that's where we need to be as a Christian society towards one another. So,
yeah. I think you're absolutely right that there is a necessity for us to watch out for each other. Also, I think that, for example, if I was doing something wrong or I was. Now, the cool thing is where I work, I have two guys in my office that are both hardcore Reformed.
Perfect.
So one of them has a master's in theology and church history, right?
Wow. So
even within our office, we have like this accountability for us three, right? And the other guys that are in office, we, of course, you can't judge the world,
right?
Because the world stands condemned already. But for us three, we do a pretty good job of kind of keeping each other under, because I mean, coming from 20 years on submarines, sometimes, I can fly loose a little bit,
right?
You know what I mean? And so, but the nice thing is having those guys in there makes me automatically kind of pull back and say no,
right? And
having that accountability in the space with me, just working on the shipyard, you're surrounded by language all day long. And I'm sure you get the same thing at the still mill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it can be hard sometimes when you're surrounded by it constantly to not let a word fly here and there, but to have that accountability is awesome.
And I think it's also some personal accountability. To me, it's easy, like you said, being around that language is easy to be able to, if we let ourselves go, just go, especially, 20 years on a submarine. And the fact that you weren't saved later in life. And so you have history from the past. And it's easy to be like, if you just don't think about it and don't consciously make that choice, it can fly right off the handle. But we have to consciously remember that we are the ambassadors for Christ, right? We represent something beyond ourselves. And if we represent and people know that we represent that, we are going to be scrutinized by the world for every little detail that we do, right? If I laugh at a dirty joke, they're going to say, well, Jesus must be okay with that. Or either that or that person's not a good Christian at all. You know what I mean? Because we represent something beyond ourselves. And so I think this is where when the scripture talks about keep your conversation good among the Gentile, right? I think that's what it's talking about, is that, hey, we represent something and we're being looked and judged on every little thing we do. And so we have to be careful. And so making that conscious choice of, I need to be careful. I don't want to be fake, right? I don't want to be the fake Christian that, isn't being real at all, because that's not genuine Christianity. That's not going to show the world genuine Christianity. But I also have to make a conscious choice of, hey, maybe I don't laugh at that dirty joke because it represents that, I'm representing something beyond me.
Right.
And so you just got to be careful both ways with it,
Well, I think one of the ways we can apply that to even Christian entertainment is when we look at, if somebody were to look at our music selection on our iPhone, what kind of witness would we be?
Well, they're going to see a lot of audiobook Lord of the Rings from me. I'm a nerd, so.
I mean, that's very true. And you brought up books earlier.
Right.
I mean, what we're reading, what we're putting and I think, and I know I'm probably going to get punched in the face by some women out there for saying this, but women are more susceptible to the book side. I think when it comes to, I know for men, it is of course TV shows and movies and stuff like that. And we always say, especially these days with the easy access to pornography, for women, I think it's the romance novels and stuff like that. Right. And there's that pull for those kinds of things. And I mean, we have to say books are also entertainment.
Right.
So what are we reading also? And you just brought up Lord of the Rings, audiobook. I mean, I know you don't read audiobooks,
but it's kind of a mixture of both worlds.
But at the same time, what are we reading?
Right.
What are we putting in front of us? I have a love for like war novels, right? And especially because I served 20 years on submarine novels, especially the ones that are about real life stories of what happened, especially in World War II. But a lot of times in those books, because it is a military surrounding, you get the language that goes with it.
Sure.
And so I had to be careful now on what books am I reading? What am I, so I kind of had to pull back from some of those things also. And because of the fact that I am susceptible to, allowing language to fly. If I keep intaking it, I let it out. Right. And so I put up those walls now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, I used to be a huge movie buff. I used to actually have all my DVDs cataloged by genre, by, all this stuff. I had them like stickered and like a whole library. I had over 600 DVDs, and I had every DVD known to man. It didn't matter the rating or what was in it because I loved movies. And then one day God convicted me and said, you really think you should be having all that? And like, what if, a weaker brother walks into the house and sees this? Is it going to cause them to stumble? And I had to pare down, and now I've got just, a lot of kids movies like VeggieTales and stuff. And I'm okay with that. Like God totally changed my heart and changed my mindset on that. And I put up these walls now, and it's like, at first I thought it was going to be horrible. And I was like, oh, I don't want to get rid of this, but I need to. Oh, I don't want to get rid of this. And then now it's like, I don't even miss it. So it's amazing how when God convicts you, it seems like it's going to be hard. But Jesus said, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. And in some aspects, it really is. You think it's going to be horrible and hard, and then you take that yoke up, and it's like, oh, this isn't that bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
Do you still have them cataloged?
I don't have them cataloged. I've gotten rid of so many. I could probably, because I used to have pages and pages and pages, and I probably down to maybe a page.
Okay.
Not much.
Easier to manage.
Yeah. And now it's like a lot of small kids. My oldest is 5. So it's a lot of Bluey on Disney. That's what I watch. A lot of Bluey, a lot of princesses. And we talked about this a little bit last week after the stream about, oh man, even Disney sometimes, what are they teaching?
Yeah.
Right.
So, and it's true.
See, Chris, that's really good advice that you can give Tim on how to manage that, because of course we adopted a 13-year-old, so we kind of bypassed the whole Disney phase.
Yeah, you had different issues.
And he's just entering into the Disney phase.
Yeah. It's even a rough one. We have to be careful. Janelle and I, my wife, have to be careful on what we even allow. What's the message in these Disney movies, and we have to look at them and like, is it a good message or is it not? You know what I mean? And so even in that aspect, for what are we putting into our kids, right? So obviously it's the easy stuff. We're not going to let them watch stuff that's, a bunch of violence or sexual acts or, swearing or anything like that. We're not, that's easy. That's easy softball stuff for us. But it's like,
right.
Rodney, you pointed out a good thing last week, like Bambi. What is that teaching? Like, what's the message behind that? Like, it is like, oh man, you opened up a whole new can of worms for me.
Right?
So now I'm having to really go through. So,
well, I was thinking about it because and I know when we were talking about it after the stream last week is a lot of people don't realize that now there were some books and stuff that came out before Disney, of course,
sure.
But the real publicizing of this giving animals a human characteristic really came about through Disney and through Disney movies. Hold on a second. I'm going to shut this door real quick.
Intermission.
That's right.
Well, no, the dogs started
personifying animals.
That's right. Hey, kids, dogs, it doesn't matter. We all know.
Right.
That's how you know it's real.
But the thing is that people really never really did a whole lot of placing human characteristics on animals until the early Disney stuff started coming out.
Right.
And you started seeing those cartoons with mice and stuff having human characteristics. And what is the first thing we talked about after the stream? When people go hunting, right? You're going to go
Bambi. You're going to kill Bambi.
Yes. Right. And if you think about it, and I know there's going to be people that are going to probably be mad at me for this one too.
I'm already getting mad. Okay. I'm getting a little flustered, Rodney.
But the thing is though, is that whenever we think about what else out there in society places human characteristics on animals, and we have to look, and a lot of pagan religions do.
Yeah.
And it's. I know I'm just saying, it leads you down a road.
Sure.
And next thing you know, you end up with I'll just go as far as say eco-terrorist telling you that that you can't have pet dogs.
Did he just say eco-terrorist?
Eco-terrorist.
I love it. He's like, I'm just going to call a spade a spade.
That's right. That's right. That's part of that submarine life. I'm just telling you.
No, but it's true. I had really never even broached that topic in my mind, and really until you brought it up, and it was like, oh, that's a good point. It does. It brings, and it's one of those things that this is why we have to be careful in what we take in, right? Because sometimes there's hidden messages that start to change the course of our thoughts, right? Like before Disney, people would hunt all the time and never think twice about it. But now it's just like you said, now it's, oh, you're going to go kill Bambi? You're going to go kill Thumper? And it's like, oh, well, no, I'm going to go and kill something to eat. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's called filling the freezer.
Yeah. Where do you think that mystery meat from McDonald's comes from? It's got to come from somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, but you're right. It's great that you can have the conversation still though and say, why do you think this isn't a problem? Because like you said, yeah, maybe it's, like an unintended consequence. Maybe it was an intentional, I guess.
I'm not going to go as far as
I don't think it was intentional, but
I don't think it's intentional.
I don't think it was, but you can have that conversation. It was like, what do you think the animal, had, why do you think that their value is the same as a person?
Sure.
You can have that conversation. I think it's
and even
not to shy away from that.
Even with your kids, it's a good teaching opportunity.
Right. Yeah.
This is how it's depicted, but this is what animals are really for, and this is what God says animals are for, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, like you said, you don't have to shut things down. You can have that. We all have to think about why that matters. So
sure, yeah,
it can be a good thing.
It helps with those problem solving skills, right? You got to start thinking about how do I solve this problem so that I can continue to watch it. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so here you go.
We're good at that.
This is from your partner. Bambi tastes good though.
Yeah, he does. I tell you what, there's nothing better.
Tried it?
There's nothing better than a cold day and you're out. And you drink it, just finished a cup of coffee and you're like, man, I want something salty. And you're like, venison sticks.
Right? It's like, don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah, sorry, you guys just lost a bunch of viewers now because they're like, you murderers.
Well, and I'm just looking at it from the perspective of paganism, right? Yeah. And raising things up in creation that are not supposed to be raised to the level that they are.
Right.
I think is where I look at it. When you look at the order of creation, I mean, man was given, dominion over these things. And I think that sometimes we have this tendency to put them on our level when they're not supposed to be. And I think that we have to remember that we are created in the image of God, and the animals aren't created in the image of God.
Yeah.
And they were created for man. Right. And I think that sometimes we have this tendency to over, emphasize where we shouldn't.
Right.
And I think that's my real point.
Yeah.
But
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
yeah. Yeah.
But Bambi still tastes good.
Yes, I mean, it's true.
Now I do get a little weirded out by giving vegetables human characters.
Now listen here. All right. I think it's wonderful.
It's a whole different thing.
It's a whole new world. Because now I eat salsa and I'm like, poor Bob. He had such a wonderful life.
I don't know if you guys seen the meme of, the VeggieTales meme where it had I think it had the salsa or something. And it had like VeggieTales. It had them as the vegetables, and then it showed them as like chopped up.
You cannibals.
Now, I will say this. And I'll ask you this. Did they not say that they would never represent Jesus, correct, as a vegetable? That was one of the
they made. Well, so that was under Phil Vischer, right? But we know in 1999, Phil Vischer and Mike Nowacki, or however the heck you say his last name, they ended up after the Jonah flop, right? That movie, the Jonah, it kind of flopped more than they thought. They had to sell the business, so. We're into a whole new realm where they don't have the creative say over a lot of things. They still go in and they voice a lot of the characters. They still help with some of the writing, but they don't have the ultimate say anymore. So, I mean, I know that they've come out with some new TV shows, and they are definitely not the same quality as what they once were as far as writing goes. So, but I know, like, looking at the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, they kind of portrayed a God figure. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that movie or not.
No,
I haven't seen that one.
They did like the bad guy was supposed to represent like Satan. They were trying to predict. Let me think about this. They were trying to promote the thought that Jesus and Satan were like brothers. That I think that comes. Doesn't that come from like the LDS or something like that? I'm trying to remember which.
They're angels.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
yes.
On the same level.
Right, and so they're brothers and they're vying for God.
Hold on. I have a button for this one.
If you can't tell this is heresy, it's because something's like wrong with your brain.
Yes, very true. And so like that right there, they kind of.
By the way, just let me cite that. That's Mike Winger. So,
so they kind of lost me. VeggieTales kind of lost me after that a little bit, because it's like, all right, here, like, what's going on? You guys are promoting some weird stuff. And that's why I try to make a hard, fast. Jonah was the last good movie where there was creative control. So,
yeah. I think that for me, what some of the stuff that I've heard from the later, VeggieTales, I think I've really kind of lost interest. The early stuff, I know my wife has all the early stuff in collections, and because we now have grandkids, I think she's kind of wanting to push that to that direction. Because there is a lot of really bad stuff out there for kids too. That just you watch it and you go, what is this? I know there's been a lot of pushes for the integration of LGBTQ stuff in children's cartoons, degendering of cartoon characters and stuff like that. I'm just like, what is going on? The society is doing this to little kids. And so I think that for us, it would be even better if we could find more Christian entertainment for children, especially, learning stuff. Right. Yeah. I mean,
since they ruined Sesame Street.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Where's the electric company?
Right. Reading Rainbow. What happened?
But yeah, I think that there's for kids more specifically, I think there's a bigger and greater need for good solid Christian, educational entertainment. So,
Well, it's funny because even my kids right now, we listen to a lot of Adventures in Odyssey in our household. Like we're big Adventures in Odyssey fans, and just some of the Bible lessons that my kids can quote just from listening to that. It's like, okay, I can see that this is pretty wholesome, and they're pretty conservative, so they're very careful in what they put out there. But you have to be careful because sometimes they switch, like VeggieTales. They started off good and with good intentions, and then things happen, and now they've kind of flipped and are very strange indeed.
So what is out there right now for kids that is more acceptable? Because I know I don't really know. So
as far as from a Christian home standpoint, or just in general,
for a Christian home standpoint,
there's not a whole lot that I can think of. I know there's a show called Superbook that my kids love watching. Superbook, which is it's Bible stories. It's these kids that have adventures, and then there's this machine called Superbook that takes them back and puts them in the biblical scenes and stories. And it's very much like almost like reading the beginner's Bible. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but they're very basic stories. I wouldn't say they're going and doing the whole show by like 100% scripture, following the scriptural line. But it's pretty wholesome. I allow my kids to watch that. My kids still watch the older VeggieTales. I'm still okay with that. And we watch and listen to a lot of the Adventures in Odyssey. So for me personally, that's kind of like the base of where my kids watch good Christian wholesome stuff. Now, again, we watch Disney, so we watch some of the new, the new shows like Bluey. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the show Bluey. Rodney, probably not you, but Tim, you might have.
You bet.
And I thoroughly enjoy that because of how much it promotes the family, right? The family is always playing together. They're always living life together. The parents are always trying to help the kids explore their imagination as far as playing goes, right? And they play along with them. Like, I think of this one episode, it's called Tickle Crabs. And the dad is playing with the two girls. They're all dogs, by the way. They're all healers. So he's playing with them, and he's playing. He acts like he goes to the beach, and he comes back from the beach, and he accidentally brings his two kids who are tickle crabs. They go around and they chase him around and try to tickle him, and that's like the whole premise of that episode. And it's like, okay, that's pretty wholesome family entertainment that I can get behind. And so shows like that I'm okay with. I love the movie we that just came out, the new Disney movie Encanto. Very, very much promotes that families sometimes have problems, but you can work it out and work together as a family. And so I'm all supportive of that. Anything that promotes family life together, I'm pretty much behind. So,
okay.
Tim, what about you?
Don't forget to turn you're muted.
Oh, he's like, well,
that time I knew it. Sometimes I just talk to the mute button.
That's all right.
Yeah. No, I mean I really don't have anything to add right now. I mean, watch Coco Melon, but that's not necessarily the same thing, like right now we're still doing like onesie twosie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, understanding that Tim and his wife are both engineers, they're both, they both graduated from Rolls-Holman Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Good guys, right? Good people. And their daughter.
Where are you going with this, Rodney?
You're probably teaching your daughter how to do long division by now. So
sure.
Yeah, we do a lot of what's the math one?
This man's name is Albert Einstein.
Right. Yeah, we do a lot of number munchers around here. You guys remember that? Rodney.
Oh yeah.
But
yep. So yeah, we do a lot of the floor is lava as the floor house. Right. Oh, the floor's lava. Quick, get up. That's what we do. Right. Steel worker, engineer.
Yeah. But when you talk about media, I guess right now, like I said, it's really like sporadic on what we watch.
Mm-hmm.
But tons of little kids books. I mean, that's where we're at right now. Just like, oh man, what do all these little books say? Like you said, Rodney makes a joke about like, oh, or you make the joke about, oh, this is the engineers. Like they make those little books or whatever, about engineers. But they also make a lot of books, like you said. I mean, all these different, cultural lifestyles, things like that. I mean, it's just all things like, okay, we're probably not going to read this book, because we don't want to necessarily instill that
right
before they can even understand anything.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's kind of where we are, I guess, with what little kids books we read.
Little Einsteins.
That's right, yeah, it's just all little Einsteins. That's what that whole bookshelf is back there.
Well, that's good. It's, hey, it's better than mine. Mine's, hooked on Pahonics. So I don't.
Oh, we had the hooked on phonics growing up.
No, it's Pahonics, man. Don't
Believe
don't
it or
you know
not,
how
my
to
brother was not hooked. Not a fan.
Shots fired.
Right.
Oh goodness.
Oh man, they really should not give me a sound pad.
Yeah, boy. You hit the mute button on that thing.
I like it.
That's right.
So,
But I just think, because we have grandkids, and I know my wife's, trying to find things to keep in the house for when the kids are over and stuff like that. Because I mean, Roman is now 3 going on 4, and you have Alea who is almost 1. So yeah, getting that place where, what can I have in the house to keep here and stuff like that is important. Just as important also as it is for Tim with your 2, 1
Sure.
and almost 1.
Right.
How many minutes until?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We're down to hours. No, yeah. But yeah, that's it. Like, just what you keep around. I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, that's easy to make sure that you got the right stuff, or
Yeah. I know my reading entertainment for me now has been like all theology books. Matter of fact, I am that meme.
Yeah,
I am too.
Right? Say, just read that to your kids; they'll be fine.
I'm currently reading Jason Sobel's Mysteries of the Messiah. So,
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
when you're going through, this Hebrew word equals this number, which also is the same number that equals this word. So you tie these together, and this is what the Jewish people think. And it's like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah. Wow. Right.
It'd be like reading, a little Dr. Seuss for Tim, but for me,
Right?
it's like reading something very complicated.
Yeah, I know.
Tim's like, it's green eggs and ham, man. What's wrong?
Right, that's the problem.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm like I'm becoming a theology book addict, and so, hi, my name is Rodney. I'm a theology book addict.
Hi, Rodney.
It's been 2 days since
It's been 2 days.
Entertainment.
It's been 2 days since you've last bought your book, right? Your last theology book.
But yeah, I think that, when it comes to Christian entertainment, and for us, I know as adults, we have a little bit more ability to judge what's correct. I know for kids, they don't.
Right.
So sometimes it's our responsibility to make sure we're putting the right thing in front of them. I also think for us, if we have to put up those guardrails because we are susceptible to sin, just like you said, it's just like drinking or or smoking cigars, right? If it's something that can cause you to sin, then don't do it.
Right.
I think that if we're going to put up guardrails elsewhere in our lives with music, why are we not doing it for movies and TV?
Right. Yep, exactly.
So I think we need to make sure that we're careful what we watch, but we also do have freedom in Christ as long as we can make sure that we're not going too far. Right. So I think we can agree with that. Well,
we got to look at, for ourselves, we're not going too far. And then also we have to look out for the weaker brother as well. We have to remember and keep that in our, if there's a brother who struggles with drinking, obviously you're not going to crack open a beer around him. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you have to, yes, there's freedom, but yes, you have to also be careful because we're called to love other people too. So, and so it's a lot more complicated than what it sounds like.
I think that's the bottom line, like we can't just make everything so black and white.
Right.
Like, say as Christians, we can't, like, just kind of bringing it back around to the beginning of what we were talking about. Like, how do you decide what is acceptable for these movies? Like we talked about, we're too critical on some of these movies, just based on the fact that, like, it's saying it's a Christian movie. I mean, we need to be discerning, but that's different than just putting everything in categories and saying, well, this category is safe, this category is not safe. You're absolutely right.
The blanket statements, we gotta back off the blanket statements.
I think that's the big one for me.
There are some blanket statements, and then there's a lot of not. There's a lot of gray area. So
well, I mean, when you talk about music, is it okay to listen to Leonard Skinner? Is it okay to listen to the Misfits? Probably not. You know what I mean?
The Ramones.
The Ramones. Yeah. So I think for music, it's very interesting to watch people who are Christians, who do listen to some hardcore stuff, and you do have a tendency to see a lot more cursing. You do see a lot more, you know what I'm saying? So there again, it's watching out for the weaker brother.
Right.
I think, and saying, hey man, do you notice that this,
right.
You know, and I think we have to be careful, and we have to be loving in our approach also whenever we do approach our brothers with correction.
Yeah, you guys are absolutely, I mean, I think you guys are absolutely, I totally agree with what you're saying there. And I think that's what you're saying, though. You can also have people that appreciate that stuff who are mature enough that it doesn't affect their,
right.
You know, like you said, it's the whole, it's the spirit of the thing, you know, it's the heart
right.
of the thing. That's what you're really looking at.
And sometimes there's some good alternatives. I know, you know, our worship pastor, Brandon Soche, we had him on in the early days of RTC on our podcast. He's a metalhead, right? He loves metal. And so when he really transitioned, I say transition like he's transitioning genders. That's not what I'm talking about. when he moved from,
isn't that terrible how those words have been hijacked? It's like I can't even use the word transition.
I know. It's like, wait a second. Let me quantify that a little bit. No,
right.
But you know, going to listen from worldly music to Christian music. So there's a good set of Christian metal music out there, right? That has very theologically sound words, but it still has the feel for people that like and enjoy that type of music. Right. And so for him, you know, man, his most worshipful times, he says, is when he's listening to Christian metal bands. And I'm like, hey, and he's very much like we are of, hey, it has to be theologically sound in its doctrine of what they're singing before I'm going to listen to it. And then he's also our worship pastor, and he knows, hey, that I would never bring that to church ever. That's not the setting for corporate worship. You know what I mean? And so I think there's
skillet for corporate worship.
Yeah, just yeah, we're gonna go with that. So you know, I think there's also that aspect that, you know, just because you're deciding you're putting up that guard for that doesn't mean there is not a good alternative. Sometimes you got to look for that good alternative, but there might be a good alternative for it too.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with you that what I'm listening to in my car is not necessarily good for corporate worship.
Right.
I mean, Flatfoot 56. I don't think we're going to do Flatfoot 56 for corporate worship. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we're going to do Skillet for corporate worship. I don't think we're going to do, you name it. I'll go with even there's even some screamo bands out there that consider themselves Christian, right?
Becoming the archetype.
Yes, that's one of them.
Yep.
Interesting story about them. They actually played a wedding reception for a friend of ours here in Virginia Beach.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a pretty big wedding reception to have them, you know, as the
actually, no, it was interesting. It was really funny. They loved that band. So they sent them an email and saying, hey, we're just gonna, you know, take a shot in the dark. Would you guys be willing to play our, you know, wedding reception? Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that it lined up with them passing through this area on tour.
Wow.
And they were like, sure, let's do it. You know,
we haven't played a wedding in many years.
And that was in a Wesleyan church. I'm just
wow. The church I got married in, it's like you couldn't even have drums in the music.
Fundamentalist.
Yes, very fundy, but that's all right. It was free. So.
No. But yeah, I just think that there are some good alternatives out there. People just need to find them. And I think, you know what, matter of fact, I'll put some down in the description down below this after we get done of some of the bands that are out there that people listen to. I
Rodney's
know that,
picks.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, but now of course, there's probably going to be people who say, no, that one's bad, or, you know, whatever. I'm not going to say I'm talking about, this is not what I'm talking about for corporate worship. I'm talking about what you're listening to in your car and stuff like that.
Right.
Not an all-inclusive list.
No.
It's not black and white.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's on paper, but not black and white.
Rodney says these are the only ones you can listen to.
Yeah. These are the only Rodney approved. So.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
No, it's only unsportsmanlike if we talk about 1 Timothy, okay? 2 Timothy signed up, but 1 Timothy's still here.
Don't
All
time
right,
those things. I'm
guys.
taking a drink, man.
All right, guys. So I think we've pretty much covered. Is there any last thoughts for anybody that listens to this?
Nah, I put mine out there already.
Yeah, I'm pretty good, Rodney.
You're pretty good.
Enjoyed
I'm
it.
pretty good. I really enjoyed this conversation. Than's for having me on.
A lot of great things. To
Hey,
think about.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, thank you for joining us this morning for
Yeah.
coffee for the coffee club on Saturday morning. And make sure, if you have not done so, make sure you go check out Real Talk Christian Podcast on YouTube, or pretty much, I think, everywhere podcast platform out there.
Everywhere.
I
Yep.
mean,
Even a website, you can just go to realtalkchristianpodcast.com and that takes you to everything. So
yep.
Perfect.
Yep. So go check them out. Go subscribe. Give them the trifecta of YouTube. That is the subscribe, the follow, or actually, no, that's just for this video. I'm just saying the duo, right?
Right.
Subscribe and click the notification bell so you know when they put out new material. For us, if you have not done so yet, make sure you like, subscribe, and click that bell. That would be the YouTube trifecta. And if you have not done so, you can also go check us out on all the podcast platforms as well. It's pretty cool that you have anything that you can. RSS feed grabbers are out there. Go check them out. So I think that's pretty much all we got, guys.
Awesome.
Yep. We love you all, and God bless.
God bless.
Oops.